Good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting for February 23rd, 2021. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with emergency directives from Governor Sisolak due to the pandemic. As such, there is limited in-person attendance. Public comment has been posted as being available to be made either via phone-in or email comments. Items listed on the agenda may be taken out of order. 2 or more agenda items for consideration may be combined, and any item on the agenda may be removed or related discussion may be delayed at any time. With that, I will call the meeting to order and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public announcements this evening? Thank you. With that then, we will open our initial public comment period. Public comment may have been submitted via written comments or voicemail prior to the meeting. Comment during this time is limited to those items on the agenda. Speakers have up to 5 minutes to speak, and as always, we request that speakers be civil and concise with their comments. Anyone wishing to speak who is in the chambers this evening? Please come to the microphone, state your name.
These comments are for the record, please. I'm Vicki Mays, and local government has been my passion and life's work. Over the past several months, I have sat quietly as the City Council has made bad decision after bad decision regarding employees simply to fulfill their campaign promises to clean out City Hall. Several members of the City Council believe the salaries paid the city manager and city attorney were too high. So the City Council fired a credentialed, experienced, professional city manager and replaced him with a person who has virtually no city manager experience at about the same salary of $183,000 a year. It fired an experienced and superstar city attorney and replaced him with an attorney who has no city experience at a salary of $170,000 a year. In addition, the City Council spent another $250,000 in legal fees so far this year to fill the gap, and Boulder City taxpayers should be outraged at the squandering of their tax dollars. Since the City Council has been seated, it has done nothing more than to display a complete lack of leadership and affinity for petty politics and preset political agendas. Because of the mayor's treatment of employees, hostile work environment claims have been asserted by rank-and-file employees. In all my years in working in local government, I have never seen a single hostile work complaint filed against a mayor. Never. And I've never seen a city council not fulfill a contract approved by their predecessors because basically they didn't like it. Now the City Council is considering kicking out the final rung of the three-legged stool that I call the foundation of local government, the City Clerk. The City Clerk provides support to the City Council, the City Manager, the City Attorney, department heads, and frankly, the entire organization. Because the city is operating with a completely inexperienced City Manager and City Attorney, her role is even more vital to this organization, running smoothly and efficiently. She knows its operations, its systems, its laws, its charter, and its culture. She is the last remaining cog to help a new city manager and city attorney get a sure footing and transition into this organization. You know, I like to think of government as the big yellow bus, you know? The wheels on the bus go round and round. It's fueled by taxpayer dollars, and yeah, she's a bit of a tax guzzler. The wheels on the bus are the city officials and department heads, and all those seats on the bus, well, they're the city employees. And where are all of you? You're the drivers of the bus. When all of these components work together, the bus travels down the road pretty smoothly and efficiently as a government can be. I believe that this city council wanted to change direction of the bus a bit, and that's fine. It could have been done pretty smoothly by working together with the existing city officials. They may have even found the best roads for the council to take or a shortcut for you guys to get there. But this council didn't want that. Because of promises made to their cronies, they decided to dismantle the bus, and the wheels are effectively falling off. The professional, effective, excellent-driven workforce at the top is gone, and what remains is hundreds of employees doing the best they can with absolutely no support. What follows are employees that are afraid to do anything above and beyond because they too can face repercussions. Effectively, your bus is stopped. And you're still in the driver's seat, but that bus is limping along at best with no clear direction as it continues to guzzle down the same amount of taxpayer dollars. And yet, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Your actions have a trickle-down effect on every employee in this city. With a council that won't work with its officials and acting officials that don't know how to manage, and employees feeling vulnerable, department heads begin to look for other jobs and leave. And when they get that new job, usually in the Las Vegas Valley, they come back to our city to glean the best of the best and take them with them. And what is Boulder City left with? An inexperienced, less professional, less trained workforce, all the while it still guzzles down the same amount of taxpayer dollars. The destruction that you have caused this city in a few short months will take years to rebuild because you believe city employees are disposable. Boulder City voters should be outraged by your complete lack of judgment, petty politics, and inability to lead. Boulder City deserves better than any member of this city council that votes to terminate Lou Crum. Sadly, you don't even know what you don't know.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers this evening that would like to speak in public comment? Yes, sir. Please come forward and state your name.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Roger Tobler. For 12 years, I sat where you guys sat, and I was able to work with a lot of wonderful city employees. I want to just take a minute and read a few things regarding Agenda Item 10. I'm here tonight to voice my opposition in removing Lou Crum as city clerk. Once again, the mayor and those who support this effort are certainly not looking out for the best interests for this community. We are entering an election, and your plan is to remove the one city official, the election officer that has vast knowledge and experience in making sure our elections run smoothly. Lou has been an outstanding city clerk. Is very well respected in this community. She definitely has greater knowledge in procedural issues regarding agendas and elections than any one of the council members. I was in office for 3 terms, and I will tell you, I received the most compliments regarding Lou and the city clerks than any other office, and I received the fewest complaints regarding their office. It's interesting that all of a sudden now she's being looked at after she has served under many administrations before you. She has always had outstanding reviews. I'm not sure you guys have even done a review up to this point until tonight. I don't believe this current council, well, I already stated that. This council has 2 appointed members and an election coming up very soon. The fair approach and the best approach would be to let the next city council, who will all be elected, make the decision regarding the city clerk. The 2 that are appointed should step away from this. You have no mandate from this community to make an important decision like this. Once again, Lou is always professional and has carried out her responsibilities. Many people are watching, and this will become an issue in the upcoming election as well as the next. I would hope that all of you take a fair and truthful approach in dealing with the city officer. Lou Crum has dedicated and committed herself to this city for many years. She has done an outstanding job. She knows what needs to be done in this office, and you guys are dismissing this. And I know that I might not be all of you that are dismissing this, but I think that's something that each of you need to really look at yourselves and truthfully think about. If you don't like something she's done, you should have held a review. You should have given her direction. You shouldn't be waiting until tonight to try to do everything in one step. It's not the fair way to do it. It's not the way we should be doing things here in Boulder City. You guys are elected, and I wish I was coming up here under better circumstances. I know what it's like to have to make tough decisions. But I'll tell you what, you each need to make your own decision regarding this and not follow just one or two people. She doesn't deserve this. She has been a great employee, and this community backs her, and this will come back on you at some point. I want to thank Lou. She was a tremendous help when I was in there. And Lou, you certainly don't deserve this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in council chambers wishing to speak in public comment? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward and state your name.
Hi, my name is Laura Reagan. I've been a BC resident since 1997. I've also have been a government employee for 30 years. I'm currently retired, but as a manager, I oversaw employees. I conducted performance reviews. I created performance plans for improvement, and not once did I ever take action to fire an employee based on poor performance before first trying to correct a discrepancy. I'm here today because I would like to encourage you to consider alternatives other than the drastic measures that are proposed for possible action on the agenda today. As a citizen of Boulder City, it is my sense that in the last year, the voices of residents have fallen on deaf ears. Common decency, transparency, and professionalism are absent, and agendas are more important than our well-being and community that we have all grown to love and appreciate. I am troubled by all the upheaval and negativity that has developed within our community based on recent decisions of our City Council. I would ask you, when making such a decision in regards to our city clerk, consider the offense and was it intentional? Was it corrected? Has the employee learned from their mistake? Is there an ongoing history of performance issues? And what is the employee's longstanding record over the many years of employment? Consider the city's future business needs and the value of the employee's skill set. How will the loss of her skill set affect daily activities of our city? And could a development plan work instead of the measures that are being proposed? As a constituent, I would like to feel confident in my city council that they have explored all avenues to correct deficiencies before making such a final decision, as well as ensuring that it does not bring any more future legal expenses to the taxpayers by making such an extreme decision of termination. I stand here alone because of the COVID regulations, though I know I am not alone in my concerns on this issue, as evidenced by the outpouring of support for Lou. I would like to urge the City Council to consider alternatives for performance correction or explore other avenues before moving forward with such a drastic and final decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak in public comment? All right, we will open the phone line then. The number to call is 702-589-9629. Anyone wishing to speak in the initial public comment period? Phone number again is 702-589-9629.
Public comment.
Hi, this is Sharon Newby, Boulder City resident, and I'd like to make a comment on agenda item number 10. I believe the time has come to employ a new city clerk. And I have just a couple of points. I really had some comments about salaries and behaviors and the long transcript at the end of the agenda materials. And then I heard that there was going to be a demonstration in front of City Hall tonight, that one city council member was going to get a police escort if they felt they needed it. Is this what we have come to? That we cry and whine about every decision we don't like? Let me remind you about some previous councils. In 2016, City Clerk Crum and City Attorney Olson and City Manager Frazier received performance evaluations. While Crum's evaluation was positive, the other two were less so, but there was no suggestion that their termination was imminent. But Olson was asked to resign in early February 2017 during an after-hours visit by two members of council. The exact reasons for Olson stepping down may never be known, as the matter was never heard by the city council. Frazier then resigned at the end of June 2017 after being approached by, again, two unnamed members of the city council, and again, the reasons behind Frazier's resignation may never be known. There was an open meeting law complaint filed regarding a meeting that Frazier had hosted for members of the city council with the finalists for the finance director, Mr. Kim. But again, we'll never really know. City Clerk Crum's actions during September 2017 public hearings on the selection of the next city attorney resulted both in an open meeting law complaint from multiple residents and the finding of a violation by the Attorney General's office. Who is to say that if another council had been elected, that Mrs. Crum might have received an after-hours visit from a couple of members of that city council telling her it was time to move on? As I attended city council meetings when we could attend them in person, I noticed sometimes Mrs. Crum was more interested in her iPhone than the meeting. Her remarks and body language bordered on rudeness and condescending. This council has bent over backwards to be transparent. No side meetings, everything out in the open, everything recorded. It is time that the attacks on Mayor McManus and councilwomen Folda and Hoskins end. No one is giving them credit for all the things they've accomplished. And thank you to those that helped me with the events stated above. And I hope people will listen with an open mind tonight to what the city council members have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment.
Hello?
Public comment.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Can I make a comment?
Of course.
Okay, I was outside during the protest tonight, and the lady that's currently speaking, there was nobody approached any of the candidates, or not the candidates.
Could we have
any
you
of the council
state your
people
name,
at
sir?
all.
May I have your name, please?
Bill Gray. And I'm not the fire chief.
Go ahead, Mr. Gray.
Well, I was out there with the other people, and nobody approached any of the council members to accost them or anything that went on at the Capitol or any other protest that's gone on in this country. When Mayor McManus walked into the front door, we all requested that he do the right thing. Nobody approached him. Nobody attacked him. Nobody did anything violent. So I'd just like to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Accost them or
The phone line is available. The number is 702-589-9629 for the initial public comment period.
Public comment.
Well, hi, good evening. My name is J.C. Davis. I'm a Boulder City resident since 2000. I just wanted to express my support for Lou Crum, with whom I've worked over many years, and encourage the council to think very carefully about this decision. It's never too late to turn back from the wrong road, and I think that this is a decision that could come back to haunt council, and that they ought to give it a lot of consideration before making an irreversible decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, anyone wishing to speak in public comment, the phone number is 702-589-9629.
Public comment.
Hi, this is Dave Randall. I just wanted to make a public comment.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is David Randall. I've been a resident of Boulder City for about the last 21 years. I just wanted to echo, I think Vicki Mays, our former city manager and city clerk, and Roger Tobler, our former mayor, really said it well in terms of characterizing the issue that's before council tonight. And I also wanted to express my support for Lou Crum. I think it's unfortunate that this council, which lacks so much experience, is firing a community servant like Ms. Crum, who's served the city for the last 15 years, and, as has already been said, has done so in exemplary fashion. She's professional. She's considerate of individuals. She fosters an atmosphere of transparency. I think the prior caller may have suggested that transparency is recording meetings. I think we all recognize that the role of our city employees and our elected city officials in promoting transparency goes well beyond that. And I think Lou has done a fantastic job of treating people with equity and creating an atmosphere where she fosters communication between both the city staff and the city council, as well as citizens who are taking interest in our government. I believe she's smart. I believe she understands how the city government works. In short, she's exactly the type of person you would want to have as city clerk. And, I've racked my brain to try to understand why it is that this city council and mayor would want to fire her. I suppose one reason might be to save the city some money by lowering her salary, or the salary for that position, as they have with the city attorney position. However, I also hope that they would recognize that you get what you pay for. And in the employees, including the city attorney and the city manager, or especially the city attorney who's been around Boulder City and lived here his whole life, and as has Lou Crum, they have great connections in this community. They're well respected, and certainly Ms. Crum is. And so, it's a sad day. It's a sad day that we're losing somebody as good as her, who's such an asset. And as I understand it, I think she's close to retirement too. And so this puts her career up in the air in terms of her future and where she's dedicated her life. And I hope that the city council is very clear about the decision that you make tonight and that you are very specific in stating the reasons why you're taking the actions that you're taking. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment.
Hello, my name is Roxanne Day, and I wanted to express my opposition to the firing of our very professional and competent city clerk, Lorene Crum. I do not agree with this action, and I'm hoping that the other city council members will not go along with the mayor on this item and do the right thing. Let's retain our very professional clerk. Thank you.
Thank you. The phone line is available. Anyone wishing to speak in the initial public comment period, the phone number is 702-589-9629.
Public comment.
Yes, my name is Robert Merrill, and I've been a citizen of Boulder City for over 30 years and would like to make a comment.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm quite concerned about the direction that council is taking regarding item 10, regarding Luke Crum. It's very concerning to me that somebody who's been a city servant with an organizational history and has had good reviews has not been given the opportunity to be reviewed in this situation before an action is taken. It seems inappropriate, and in the face of the discrimination or harassment suit, seems retaliatory to me. My concern is this council will end up losing a good employee, a good public servant, and end up costing the city hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees going forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The phone line is available for the initial public comment period. The phone number is 702-589-9629.
Public comment.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Terry Rhodes, and I want to make a comment that my biggest suggestion is because of this phony stuff that's going on and the harassment that the mayor and the city council have caused the people in the offices. I really honestly feel like you should just go ahead and start a recall on them and fire every one of them, especially the mayor. He needs to be fired. He needs to be recalled because he's so unprofessional that he's actually calling his friends and his girlfriend to be part of the city council. So that's what I have to say about his unprofessional behavior and his not following what any corporation or company would do. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Public comment.
Hello?
Public comment.
Oh, hi. How are you doing? I heard that there was going to be a leash law ordinance, maybe, and I'd like to talk about that.
Sir, that item is not on our agenda this evening. There will be a meeting, public meeting on March 1st at 6 p.m. You may speak to that issue at the end of this meeting in the final public comment period, but this period is reserved for those items that are on the agenda this evening.
Okay. Can I hold on till the end of the public period?
That would be quite a while, and we only have the one phone line. So again, at the end of the meeting, you can feel free to call in, or again, March 1st at 6 p.m.
Could you tell me what time I should call then, please, sir?
We can't predict the length of these meetings, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll call back. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is our initial public comment period for items that are on tonight's agenda. The phone number is 702-589-9629.
Public comment.
Hi.
Hi.
It's Carrie. Hi. Can I
Go
say
ahead.
something?
Go ahead, please.
My name is Carrie Ahern. I worked with Lou Crum for 9 years. She's an amazing, wonderful, awesome person. And Hi. It's Carrie. Hi.
Carrie, can you please mute your computer?
I will do that. I apologize.
I work with Lou.
I muted. Apologize for that. I just want to say I worked with Lou so long, and she's a great person, and I can't imagine anyone doing that position better than her. So Dr. Bob said it perfectly, and I'm not going to say any more, but I just really think she's amazing, and you're not going to find a better city clerk than Lou Crum. That's what I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is our initial public comment period. The phone number is 702-589-9629.
Public comment.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello. I would like to make some comments in regards to tonight's city council meeting.
Go ahead.
Please state your name and proceed.
I'm Sharon Lazar, and I've been a resident of Boulder City for almost 25 years. I am concerned about tonight's meeting, and I am also concerned about the fact that we have an awful lot of words and adjectives that are being tossed around in regard to the City Council and its behavior in regard to city staff. I have yet to hear a concrete charge or a description of any action that has taken place by a council meeting or our mayor in regarding city staff. It's easy enough to toss words around without having a basis in fact. So I think we ought to stop that, and if anyone has anything to say with substance, they should come forward and address the issue directly. The same is true for our city clerk. I have not heard anything about her, contrary to the fact that I've known her for years on a rather personal basis, that I've never dealt with her on city matters, and I found her to be a very charming and a lovely woman. And I'm waiting to hear what charges are being brought forth against her tonight, because I cannot call and make reference to her and say I want her or I don't want her to remain in office without actually knowing what the fundamental problem is with her at this point. So let's stop tossing words around and let's get down to the bottom of this and set the record straight on all accounts. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is our initial public comment period for items listed on the agenda tonight. The phone number is 702-589-9629.
Thank you.
Public comment.
Thank you. Yes, I wanted to make a comment.
Can you please mute your computer in the background?
For items
Yes.
Thank you.
tonight, the phone number is 702.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Lori Van Diest, and I'm calling in favor of course, of keeping Lou Crum. We have worked together. I first met her in 1994 when we worked at Nevada State Welfare together as caseworkers, and she's brilliant. I can't imagine anybody wanting to get rid of her, no matter what the girl does. She's absolutely brilliant. After listening to Roger Tobler, and through his 12 years, she couldn't do anything wrong. I can't imagine when this mayor took over that she turned her head to the side and her brains all fell into the garbage can. So I can't imagine that she's done anything wrong. First it was the city manager, then it was the attorney, now it's Lou Crum. I guess the mayor is so brilliant, he's going to run the whole city. There is nothing wrong with Lou Crum. No matter what she touches, she figures it out. She's got a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. This is ludicrous. So there's no reason to get rid of Lou. Like I said, she's brilliant. So that's my comment. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Hi, Lou. Bye.
Again, the phone number is 702-589-9629. Anyone wishing to speak in the initial public comment period?
Public comment.
Hi, this is Jason Howard. I'm a resident of Boulder City for the last 9 years. I deal with a lot of public agencies around the country and also in Nevada. And the thing that I deal with often is the change of guard with city councils and city, even counties and other people like that as well. But the people that actually stay and keep the cities running, the counties running, are the staff. And what we've done to Boulder City in the last year is basically set our city back many years. And because of the decisions that this council has made, we will not be able to get ourselves ahead because we're digging ourselves in a hole. And after that, after tonight's decision, if something happens that way, we will be set back quite a ways, which is going to hurt our city in the long run. Lou Crum is a very honest, great person, as was our city attorney and our city city manager as well. But it is going to take us years to recover, and we are still seeing the ramifications of having these folks removed. And tonight, if you make that decision, you will set Boulder City back quite a ways, which is going to hurt us. It's going to hurt the community. It's also going to affect the way that the city functions. And when you're voted out of office, we'll still be dealing with the problems that you're leaving with us. So we would appreciate it if you would take care and look at our city versus your own agendas, because your agendas are actually hurting Boulder City. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is our initial public comment period. The phone line is available. The number is 702-589-9629.
Public comment.
Good evening. My name is Ainsworth Hunt.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a comment on item number 10 on tonight's agenda. I was attending meetings fairly regularly a few years ago at City Council when the former city attorney, Steve Morris, was hired. I had requested supporting material documentation, especially resumes of the candidates. I looked and asked Lou Crum for them, and she shook her head no at me. I filed an open meeting law complaint at the time, which was upheld, and she was named in that complaint. At a later date, when a Vegas Golden Knights game was on, it was obvious that she was watching the game while she was working as the city clerk. I don't know Lou Crum. I really don't. She might be the nicest person on the planet, but if you're participating in a city council meeting as the city clerk, that's your job. It's not time to be watching the Vegas Golden Knights game. If you're supposed to provide supporting materials for candidates who are being interviewed for a senior city position, and you refuse to give them to the public, that's also your job. I understand this outpouring of support from her friends and neighbors. That makes sense to me. But my areas of concern as a citizen of Boulder City come from the point of view of looking at people from the point of view of what's their job and are they performing it correctly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The phone line is available. Anyone wishing to speak in the initial public comment period, the phone number is 702-589-9629.
The phone line is available. Anyone wishing to speak in the
Yes.
Can you mute your computer, please?
Sure, hold on. Okay, it's muted.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello? I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, please.
This is Christine Milburn. I've been a resident of Boulder City since 1982. I've seen a lot of people in the city government come and go. And I haven't been able to figure out, a lot of people are asking, why Lou Crum? Why is he going after Lou Crum? And it is a he. It is the mayor who is doing this. The only thing that I can think of, here's a theory. My theory is that the city council, the city attorney and the city manager and Lou Crum are in a position to be able to really watch to see what the mayor does and what his competence level is. My only reason that I think that he is trying to get rid of these people because they realize how incompetent he is, how incompetent he has been. I've heard people talk about the things that the city council have done. Well, I can guarantee you there is nothing the city council has done that wasn't already in the mix from the last city council that was on. So I have seen nothing the city council has done except cause a whole lot of money for the city. Lou Crum is probably one of the best and seasoned employees this city has ever had. And for the mayor, and I want to emphasize that again, it is the mayor to go after her is not only ridiculous, it's almost criminal. If this council follows his agenda and does this, I promise you, it will not bear well with you on any election. And the two people that were appointed by the mayor should have never been in there in the first place. The one lady, Susan Newbley, who talked on the phone earlier and talked about how we should get rid of the city clerk, just know that she is one of the big believers in the Boulder City Alliance, and that's where she's coming from. So, in my opinion, I would say Lou Crum should be retained, and unless there's a good reason, which nobody has stated yet, the only thing I can think of is they know how incompetent our mayor is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The phone line is available. The number is 702-589-9629. Anyone wishing to speak in the initial public comment period?
Public comment.
Yes, I'd like to make public comment, please.
Go ahead, please.
Hello, my name is Vince Alberta. I called last meeting for the first time following Boulder City Council processes and agendas. I am speaking to agenda item number 10 regarding the personnel matter, and I want to direct a few comments specifically to the caller that had made comments about she hadn't heard any factual information about this council or the reflection of Lou Crum's work. As I understand it, based on public record, there is a hostile work environment claim against this council. That's fact number one. Fact number two, I would ask the mayor to address the fact that, has he been recording employees' conversations? If so, while maybe permitted by law, if it's an in-person meeting, that's a nefarious act and clearly demonstrates a culture that is not healthy for Boulder City, that is not healthy for its employees, and it is not healthy for the overall well-being of Boulder City. And I would urge this council, before they take action, as mentioned by the previous caller, before they take action that may result in legal fees, wait until the hostile work environment claim has been settled. Have a meeting with Lou Crum, one-on-one with your HR administrator, to discuss how she can improve if, in fact, that is an issue. And let's get back to the business at hand instead of the personal vendetta retaliatory items that are taking place with members of this council. It is unfortunate. We have a mayor that has said he doesn't want business from outside coming to Boulder City. If I were a business person, I would be infuriated by that. Infuriated if I had a business in that town. This board needs vision. It needs leadership desperately. And this community needs to please be engaged in the processes when election comes and hold these officials accountable. We can pause here, we can step back, we can be rational, we can step back from the egos. The claims that have been made that also are public record about open meeting violations, my question would be, was staff following the lead of the council? Let's address that question. There's a lot here, and I would ask the Boulder City Review to look into it. We get caught up in our day-to-day lives, we get busy. There is a lot here. You need to peel back the onion because this council has not demonstrated leadership and transparency. You wanted facts about the lack of transparency with this council. You have it. Let's go Boulder City. Let's do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is our initial public comment period for items on the agenda tonight. The phone number is 702-589-9629.
Public comment.
I'd like to make a public comment on agenda number 10.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, I'd like to address a few comments about the, Russell Nelson. I'm calling from my home in Utah. However, I have a home in Boulder City. And I'm also a minority owner in 2 companies in Boulder City. I'd like to read a letter from Lemons, Grundy, and Eisenberg, February 16th, 2021, to address some of these rumors that I keep hearing from these callers. It's addressed to Mayor McManus. It says, "Dear Mayor McManus, the investigation into concerns about you made by various city employees has been completed. While I am not permitted to discuss confidential personal matters with you, I will tell you that the investigator did not find there to be any violation of any city policy." Let me repeat that. I will tell you that the investigator did not find there to be any violation of any city policy. So these rumors swirling around from these callers about all these city employees filing these harassment complaints, that has been settled. That has been settled by the investigator. So I would hope that these fellow citizens of Boulder City would do a little more research into what they're speaking about. These baseless accusations that are being made tonight have been settled. The letter is signed, Sincerely, Rebecca Brunch, Esquire. This letter is readily available as a public record to anyone that wants to seek it out. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Again, this is our initial public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak may call 589-9629. Again, this is our initial public comment period. The phone line is available. Anyone wishing to speak, the phone number is 702-589-9629. Madam City Clerk, were there any emails or voicemails that have been submitted?
Yes,
All
Mayor,
right.
and I'll be reading them.
All right.
There's about
please
27 comments.
Please proceed. Thank you.
The first one is Teresa Beaver regarding item number 10. Dear City Council and Mayor, I am completely against the removal of our city clerk. Her expertise and experience has led Boulder City to be compliant with the extensive laws for the many duties she performs. Your determination to rid Boulder City of all of the senior employees and rehire new younger employees for less pay with less credentials is unethical and unlawful. You are not above the law. You have voters who totally disagree with the libelous ways you have handled things since you have been elected. The voters are watching this harassing council meeting closely, and depending how you all vote, it could raise a recall and investigations that would cost much more than you think you are saving Boulder City. Are you sure you want this to be your legacy, to be recalled by the voters? Can the city and taxpayers afford to pay for the legal battle you are putting us in? Even if you win, you will lose. Stop this madness now. Focus on helping our citizens survive these terrible times. Spend the money that you would spend on attorneys to do something good for Boulder City and move on. I implore you to rethink this insanity. Teresa Beaver. Next is regarding item number 10, Mayor and City Council regarding Lou Crum. I was a planning commissioner for Boulder City for 13 years. I worked closely with Ms. Crum, her staff, and found them to be professional and helpful. We are in the middle of an election for 2 new city council members. It is my opinion that the new council should review Ms. Crum, since it was always the express goal of the Boulder City Alliance to terminate Ms. Crum. It is my opinion she does not have a chance for a fair hearing. The mayor appointed 2 Boulder City Alliance members not elected by the citizens of Boulder City. I feel it is only fair to wait for the newly elected council that has been elected by the citizens of Boulder City to review Ms. Crum. Signed, Cokie Booth. The next public comment regarding item number 10 is from Suzanne Caldwell. I do not support Mayor McManus in his quest to fire Mrs. Crum. I did not vote for McManus, and I am proud to say this. The man has a personal vendetta, and Ms. Crum is just another one of his victims. The next public comment regarding item number 10 is from Donald and Nancy Carlisle. We oppose the council's determination to terminate Lorene Crum. It is time for the council to work with city employees instead of firing anyone they disagree with. Next public comment regarding item number 10 is from Lori Douglas. It says, firing the city clerk during an election and a time where new council members will be joining by the city council. She's opposed. The timing of firing, she says, should be removed until after the election is over. The fact that the council is trying to fire her in the middle of an election makes no sense and compromises the election. Next comment regarding item number 10 is from Brian Ewell. Hi, I would like to have the following names added to sign the petition and support a city clerk and not to be removed from her position. Thanks. Signed, Brian and Jennifer Ewell. Next public comment regarding item number 10 is from Monique Goodfellow. With regards to this council's position on firing the city clerk Lorene Crum, we are deeply disturbed by the vindictive nature and hostile actions taken against those who are only trying to do their jobs. There are many employees who have wrongfully been fired by this council and told they would not receive their severance packages if they spoke up or filed suit. Most, if not all, not even given any reason for their firing, just went into work one day and were told they no longer had a job. I don't care who you are, this is wrong. Ms. Crum has more competently done her job and does not deserve to be fired for speaking up. There are several lawsuits against members of this council for several different reasons, hostile work environment being only one. We as a community are paying for all of these decisions. We definitely do not agree with the council firing Mrs. Crum. Sincerely, Mark and Monique Goodfellow. Next public comment regarding item number 10 is from John Lawrence. To whom it may concern, I don't think City Clerk Mrs. Crum should be fired. It appears that it is payback for not agreeing with the mayor and current city council. Thank you, John Lawrence. The next is from Peggy Levitt, former city councilwoman, regarding item number 10. Mayor and council, I hope the residents of Boulder City are listening. Let us be very clear. The proposed action is not about what is in the best interest of Boulder City, nor is it about a work performance evaluation. It is nothing but fulfilling a not-so-secret agenda to rid the city of its top 3 appointed positions. For those who have had the privilege of working with Lorene Crum, they know she is very professional and has always had the philosophy that she works for the office, not the person. Because of this attitude, she has worked with great success, earning exemplary work performance evaluations with many council members and mayors and varying personalities, temperaments, and agendas. Now, only now, with this particular mayor, he wants her summarily dismissed. One has to ask why. The answer is simple: political power. This mayor desires employees under him who will bend to his will, be unwilling or afraid to offer their professional opinions or to speak up on issues that they disagree for fear of retaliation. If Ms. Crum is guilty of anything, it is for telling the truth, the unvarnished truth. As a former administrator for a large agency, I have been appalled at the mayor's poor, even damaging leadership skills. His demeaning, critical, micromanaging style have created a toxic work environment. He should be the role model of cooperatively working with staff, but instead has employees who are always waiting for the other shoe to drop. In this environment, it will be difficult to attract and replace employees who are leaving, and great employees will leave as soon as they get the opportunity. Boulder City will end up with non-tenured employees who are afraid to do their jobs. If this council succumbs to the mayor's ambition and terminates Ms. Crum's contract, it will result in devastating consequences to our city government and our community. I hope they can live with the long-lasting effects of that decision. The next public comment regarding agenda item number 10 is from Duncan McCoy. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I am Duncan McCoy, resident of Boulder City and two-term former councilman. I wish to speak regarding the proposed termination of City Clerk Lou Crum. On March 14th, it will be 32 years since I began my position as director of Boulder City Library District. July 1st this year will mark 32 years as a resident of Boulder City. During those 32 years, I have enjoyed positive working relationships with all of the excellent occupants of the city clerk's office. These relationships have spanned over 19 years as library director, 8 years as city councilman, and the balance as a private citizen. Of the excellent city clerks employed by the city, Lou Crum is the very best, and now the council is going to discuss firing her. This really comes as no surprise. Following the last municipal election, but before the swearing in, at least one councilman-elect was heard by many to announce that the new council would fire the city manager, the city attorney, and the city clerk. What a great way to begin important working relationships. This prophecy, if that's what it was, is now 2/3 complete, and only the city clerk remains to be canned. Item number 10 on tonight's agenda was requested by Mayor McManus. I can only surmise that this is happening now because the mayor is comfortable that the votes are there to complete the action. If this was all planned out before the swearing in 2 years ago, that might explain how he arrived at his comfort zone. I can't imagine that this item would be on the agenda if the mayor had any doubts about a quorum. If the clerk's termination was not set up 2 years ago, along with the other two planned terminations, when was it set up? Certainly not within the framework of a public meeting. City government is set up to provide effective local government services, street repair, utilities, garbage collecting, management of local elections, fiscal policy, and the like. It is not set up to provide a venue for accumulating political power, the arbitrary exercise of authority, or the demonstration of relative strength. The city is a complicated organization which requires its leader to possess ability, knowledge, administrative skill, and tact. Lou Crum possesses all these abilities and uses them every day to benefit the city. It would be a tragedy and a mistake to cut her loose. The city clerk's contract clearly identifies her as an at-will employee, subject to termination by a vote of 3 of the 5 council members. The fact that the council can do a termination does not mean that it should do the termination. The clerk's contract states in section number 8 that the council will at least annually evaluate the clerk's performance and establish goals for improvement. To the best of my knowledge, the city clerk has not been evaluated by this council since the new members were sworn in 2 years ago. To go directly from no evaluations and no improvement goals to termination is not only contrary to the language of the contract, it is arbitrary, and in modern governmental and management terms, it's not only not modern, it's primitive. I don't believe the former city manager or the former city attorney enjoyed any official evaluations or developmental goals by the council prior to their firing either. It's nice to see that tonight's packet includes Resolution 7239 to provide 3 months compensation following termination. That is more than council offered to Al Noyola and Steve Morris, choosing instead to manufacture cause for termination in an attempt to avoiding separation cost. In the case of the city clerk's exit pay, her contract requires payment of 3 months' salary, 100% paid PERS contribution for the 3 months, plus accumulated vacation, sick leave, and compensatory time. The resolution should specify all the contract's requirements for exit pay. I would point out that the current council contains 2 members who were not elected at all. The quorum for this is 3 votes, presumably the mayor and 2 other votes. 3 votes is what it will take to approve the termination resolution. Finally, Boulder City is currently moving along towards the spring municipal election. Both appointed council seats are up for election. Councilwoman Folda has chosen not to run for the seat she now occupies. Councilwoman Hoskins has filed for election to her seat. It strikes me well that the quorum which appears available for tonight's proposed termination may very well evaporate in the spring election. Should tonight's quorum evaporate, the council with 2 new members could simply and easily undo what the mayor has suggested to be done tonight. Lou Crum is the best city clerk that we've had in all the years I've been here. Be sensible and keep her aboard. Next public comment regarding item number 10 is from Nancy McFarland. Irrespective of the reasons behind this termination effort, I believe that it is folly to terminate the employment of the city's municipal election officer less than 2 months prior to an election. No one can be expected to step into that position at this late date without destroying the smooth functioning of the city's election, which has been a hallmark of our community during the 11 years I have lived here. It is absolutely vital that Lorraine Crum remain as our city clerk to ensure the validity of the elections. I urge the Boulder City Council members to vote against the termination of her employment. Next public comment, agenda item number 10, is from Victoria Miller. Good evening. I'm writing in support of City Clerk Lorraine Crum. The council should absolutely vote to retain her. She is an asset to Boulder City. Having served meticulously for over a decade, she knows both the city and her job well. She does an excellent job as clerk and has consistently earned positive evaluations. There is simply no good reason to remove her. Additionally, to dismiss a competent, seasoned election administrator just before a high-profile municipal election is pure foolishness. Given that the mayor and several current council members had agreed to remove Ms. Crum along with the other city employees prior to their own elections or appointments, it's plain that the charges to be laid at her feet are just pretense. You're not fooling anyone. This is a question of politics, not performance. And if it's going to be a question of politics, at the very least, you owe it to your constituents to let the next fully elected council address it. They will be the ones with a legitimate claim to represent the will of the people of Boulder City. Next public comment regarding item number 10 is from Lisa Morris. I am once again absolutely disgusted at the actions of this harassing and retaliatory council. You ignore the rules and the laws as if they don't apply to you. You ran on transparency, and you are as opaque as they come. You are tools of the BCCA's agenda, and you have supported the discrimination and harassment that has occurred in the town against staff. You have pledged your allegiance to Community Alliance to get rid of the appointed employees, making up false reasons to carry this heinous act out. You pretend to have cause and good reason when all you really have are conspiracy theories and lies. You have broken the contracts of good employees, and you have aided in the defamation of character of the appointed employees. These are exemplary and honest people. Lou is a valuable employee to the city and a contributing citizen in this community. You sit here on your throne of lies and take great pleasure in destroying the lives of good and honest Boulder City employees and citizens. Albert Einstein once said this quote, "The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything," end quote. We cannot quietly sit back any longer while we watch this council tear down our city's morale and reputation. Lisa Morris. Next public comment is regarding agenda item number 10 from Rich Moynihan. My wife and I feel that the mayor is pursuing the termination of the city clerk because she disagreed with him and did not cave into him as most city staff and city council do. The mayor and council are not supposed to tell the city staff what to do, with the exception of the city manager. We have all seen the mayor berate the city clerk in the city council meetings when she didn't tell him what he wanted to hear. The reports of the mayor bullying the other council and city staff are numerous. We have all watched him berate other council members and anybody else when he doesn't get his way. I believe that the city clerk's evaluations have always been well above average, and as a long-term employee should keep her job. We know that a number of other city employees have complaints filed against the mayor, and this firing is allowed to go through. It will end up biting us and then cost the city a lot of money. I agreed with the firing of the city manager and city attorney as I watched them both lie to mislead the council, mostly on the airport hangar leases and fuel farm, but they had not been employed very long. I believe that new employees, especially city managers, attorneys, and department heads, should have at least 2-year minimum probation period to make sure the city is getting what they expected when they hired them. If the new staff doesn't want to sign an agreement with a 2-year probation clause, then we are probably better off without them. We have seen these wrongful firings happen before, as with Scott Hansen, the Public Works Department head. Most people feel that he was terminated because he had been the main competition to the new city manager. Without him, the city manager felt more secure in his job. I guess we picked the wrong guy. If anybody needs to be fired, it's the mayor and maybe the rest of the current city council, unless they're starting to stand up to the mayor and doing what's right. I sincerely hope the council stands up for what is right and votes against the mayor on this matter. Next public comment is from Mike Piscini, and this is on item number 10. Dear Council, transparency is a word I have heard from all of you. Transparency in government can only be achieved with process and input when making serious decisions. Where is your process for this decision? Where is the paper trail, the information for consideration of this decision? Luke Crum is a person that I personally and have professionally and say that known personally and professionally, and say that she performs her job with the absolute best interest of Boulder City at heart is a major understatement. Her job performance and job integrity are well respected among local and state government officials and staff. I ask each of you to reject this agenda item that is based on retaliation, not based on performance or fact. But if you do vote to fire Luke Crum, I ask each of you to state your reasons why. Do the right thing and reject this item. Thank you for your time and consideration, Mike Piscini. 3-term Boulder City Councilman and Mayor Pro Tem, 51-year resident of Boulder City. Next item regarding item number 10 is from Joan Paolini. Now the city clerk. First it was the city attorney and the city manager. Who will be next on the chopping block, Mr. Mayor? Who in their right mind would want to work for this city? Fear would always be in the back of the employee's mind. After working for many years for another local city government, I'm glad I chose them and not Boulder City. Next public comment is regarding item number 10 from Karen Pellitude. I was deeply concerned when I heard of the intent to dismiss Lorene Crum as our city clerk. I am concerned of the mayor's intent. Retaliation is my main concern and has no place in our city government. This could end up costing the taxpayers more money depending on litigation. I have had several dealings with the city clerk, and she has always been knowledgeable and professional. Having a business for several years in Boulder City makes me highly aware of the value of good employees. It is important for me to note that I would not consider her a personal friend, but more of an acquaintance. It is also important for everyone to think of what is best for Boulder City first, and that is to keep Lorene Crum as our city clerk. Thank you for your time, Boulder City resident Karen Pellitude. Next public comment is regarding item number 10 from Shauna Rudd. Hello, City of Boulder City Council members. It is my opinion that Lou Crum is a huge asset to our city. On top of her professionalism and profound knowledge of her job, I have witnessed Lou donating countless hours of her time to multiple Boulder City charities and organizations. She is an exemplary ambassador for our city. My hope is any decision that you make this evening is what is best for us, the citizens of Boulder City. Next public comment is regarding agenda item number 10 from Laura Soul. I'm a 30-year resident of Boulder City and I support Lou Crum. She has done an outstanding job for our city and there is no value that can be placed on her experience and dedication to her job. I am appalled that her job and work ethic are being questioned on any level. The mayor and certain members of council who support her firing should be ashamed of themselves. The people whom you represent do not want to lose Ms. Crum. She is a huge asset to our city. Sincerely, Laura Soul. The next public comment is regarding agenda item number 10 from Nancy Summer. Mayor and council, you have successfully dismantled the leadership of Boulder City. Decades of experience and history have been destroyed, and for what? so you can keep your venomous campaign promises to the Boulder City Alliance cult that you serve. You do not serve the best interests of citizens of Boulder City. Rather, you serve at the altar of a group of hateful, nasty humans that have no interest in making the city better. The only goal in mind is to destroy the city by defunding budgets for the parks and recreation programs, closing golf courses, and making sure the rest of Boulder City is as miserable as you are. Typically, in private sector, when a new company takes ownership, they will remove the executive management. The difference between what professional businesses do and your amateur hour antics is they have qualified, experienced leadership ready to take over immediately. You removed an experienced, qualified city manager and replaced him with a community development director who has zero experience. You have removed an experienced, qualified city attorney and replaced him with a novice attorney with zero experience. Now you are removing a 20-year experienced qualified city clerk, and again, you do not have a real replacement. 3 for 3 in making decisions that do nothing to benefit the running of city government or the citizens. You made these decisions based solely on contempt for anyone who has an opinion differing from yours. You do not want honest conversations. You only want yes people who will stand up to your tyranny. It's no wonder that the mayor and his 2 appointed puppets have created a hostile work environment through the regular harassment of staff, demonizing them on social media, secretly meeting outside the public eye to plan their nefarious actions, and secretly recording conversations. While that recording may be legal, it definitely is not ethical and a sign that you have no leadership ability. I am absolutely appalled to learn that I have been victim of your secret recordings. This is a violation of my privacy and completely unacceptable in any workplace. You will end up in history as being the worst mayor and council in the history of Boulder City. It will take years to undo the damage that you've done to this city and its employees. The next public comment is regarding item number 10 from Dick Stevens. Mayor and City Council members, I am a Boulder City resident submitting public comment regarding agenda item number 10. When first hearing of this agenda item, I was shocked to learn that Ms. Crum's character, professional competence, physical health, and mental health were in question, plus references to alleged misconduct. This is quite the contrary compared to the job performance and character traits I have come to know from the Boulder City Clerk. However, I wanted to review the backup material with the meeting packet to get a better understanding of the allegations. Unfortunately, in the over 400 pages of backup materials, no egregious examples of character flaws or professional incompetence were revealed. Likewise, no instance or samples of the physical and mental health claims referenced in the February 2nd memorandum from Mayor McManus were present in the 400 pages. Likewise, no previously disciplinary actions regarding Ms. Crum's work performance were included. What was present in the backup materials were emails where Ms. Crum presented herself professionally. Her education and years of experience with Boulder City City Code, Nevada statutes, open meeting law, etc., was obvious in the email correspondence. She presents herself as the professional, intelligent, straight shooter that our city needs. It might not be what you want to hear, but it is often what needs to be said. Regarding attachment number 15, the 60-page transcript of meeting, I didn't realize meetings were even recorded. I trust all parties were aware, as it seems like it was a devious act in the workplace. But for some reason it is included in backup information to justify the removal of an experienced, educated, recognized, awarded 15-year Boulder City employee and resident of Boulder City. These were in the transcript, Ms. Crum states, in quotes. Tell us what you want. We base things on our training, our knowledge, and experience. We're trying to help. We have to voice our concerns. There's many times that we don't agree. We can make recommendations on policy, and it is our job to implement the policy that council makes. You are the policy makers of the city, and we will carry out that. End of story. The transcripts depict an employee that utilized experience, knowledge, and wisdom and works as a team player for the overall betterment of the entire city. Sounds like an employee I would like to have. Mayor McManus, you often speak about transparency, what is best for the residents of Boulder City, and how much is it costing the taxpayers of Boulder City. I ask those same things of you regarding this agenda item. Be transparent, admit that this was part of the Boulder City Community Alliance original City Council campaign promise. Please think about what is best for its residents. It's not best for the residents to leave a vacancy in the city clerk's office in an election year with 13 candidates and ballot questions. How about the city staff, of whom are Boulder City residents? Do you know the overall morale of city staff? Are you aware of what staff and residents are saying? Are you and city council members even listening? Staff in City Hall is wondering who is next, who is on the chopping block next to lose their job. But it isn't just City Hall staff. I spoke with a blue-collar worker who primarily works in the field, and he compared the mayor to a dictator, saying, what's his end game? It will just be somebody else next, and unfortunately, no one can stand up to him in fear they will lose their job. Talk about having created hostile work environment, but residents are feeling the same as city staff. My neighbors have said there is no leadership currently with the city. This is all about the upcoming election, and the decision is already made. How embarrassing that this is a unique city like Boulder City, and this is what the residents of Boulder City, your constituents, are saying. And what is this costing me as a taxpayer? Another severance package, another expensive recruitment for replacement of a city clerk, and other top staff that are anticipating being next. Election issues with no staff, isn't that a potential lawsuit? What is the budgeted dollar amount for this? Most importantly, when is this going to end? Mayor and City Council, please listen to the community tonight. Listen to tonight's public comments. Nothing in Ms. Crum's job performance dictates removal from her position. Ms. Crum is of good character, without reprimands, of sound physical and mental health, and more than competent to continue to do the city clerk position she has held for the past 10 years. I realize that the city charter gives council the power to remove the city clerk from office, but just because you can do something, just because you have the power to do something, does not mean that you should do it. Please do what's best for the residents, the best for Boulder City community, and the best for the city staff. Be responsible in your use of power and exercise good judgment. Do not remove Lou Crum from her city clerk position. Respectfully, Dick Stevens, 18-year Boulder City resident. Next public comment regarding item number 10 is from Kathleen West. Lorene Crum has been an incredibly professional city clerk for the city of Boulder City. I worked with Mrs. Crum through Garrett Junior High School in my time as a student council advisor. She is responsive, professional, and highly qualified for her position. Any attempt to remove her from her position will be seen by the entire community as a vindictive move to falsely punish an employee for trying to keep this board operating within the law. Rules of order are understood by middle school student councils. It should be well understood by our city council and mayor. You will waste hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees because she will sue and she will win. Shame on you for even attempting this ridiculousness. Next public comment is regarding agenda item number 10 from Mary Alice West. I am extremely unhappy and concerned to see that the February 23rd City Council meeting has agenda item number 10 for possible actions, matters pertaining to the office of the city clerk as requested by Mayor McManus. I am concerned that this is another item initiated by the current council that shows the council to be interested in an agenda that has nothing to do with the residents of Boulder City want or need, nor is it in the best interest of the city. Lou Crum has high professional standards and loves Boulder City. She is a cheerleader for Boulder City and its residents. She is invested in Boulder City, living here, raising children here, working here. To consider removing her is a joke. Her institutional memory alone is a reason to keep her. Just because she doesn't always provide the answer Mayor McManus wants to hear does not mean she is wrong. She appears to be the voice of reason during council sessions. How ridiculous this whole thing sounds. To discuss Ms. Crum's character, alleged misconduct, professional competence, or physical or mental health sounds like council members have degrees in business management, psychology, and medicine to be able to make this type of judgment. Few staff at the city have more insight in the city's history and past practices. Ms. Crum certainly has more history and experience than anyone on the city council. I think she's an extremely valuable asset to the city. To even consider firing her says more about Mayor McManus, not Ms. Crum. Use your city clerk as the asset she is. Sincerely, Mary Alice West, 42-year resident of Boulder City. I gotta take a drink. No. Next public comment is regarding item number 10 from Rod Woodbury. My public comments are regarding item number 10 on tonight's City Council agenda, which seem calculated to assassinate City Clerk Lorene Crum's character and then terminate her employment. As hundreds of citizens and several former city officials stated in the paper last Thursday, this is a really bad idea at a horribly wrong time, being pushed by people who shouldn't currently be weighing in on the decision. Terminating Lou Crum will leave our city without its top 3 administrative officials during critical processes and dire circumstances. We're currently in the middle of a budget process, the legislative session, a hotly contested council election, and needless to say, the city clerk plays a crucial role in each. It would be a recipe for disaster even if we weren't still mired in the fallout from COVID. If Ms. Crum is terminated, these processes will be jeopardized and their legitimacy called into serious question. Her office is already overtaxed with these burdens and can't possibly handle them without her. Sending her packing on the eve of early voting also smacks of election tampering and fraud. Additionally, Ms. Crum is the guardian of our public records and primary liaison with the City Council. Terminating her will sever our lifeline to city management and sounds like a final death knell to our cherished transparency, which is already under attack. It will only open the path to more political whitewashing and censorship. Our 2 appointed council members were never elected and have no business making decisions on such lasting consequence. One of those appointeds, Tracy Folda, is moving away and won't even be around to live with the consequences. If this decision really needs to be made, it should be tabled until after a fully elected council is seated this June. Mayor McManus must also abstain. Sponsoring this agenda item is bad enough, but following through to vote in favor of termination will clearly be retaliatory and almost certainly lead to further litigation. As the mayor knows full well, Ms. Crum and several other city employees have pending complaints against him for harassment, bullying, discrimination, and creating a hostile work environment. I echo former City Manager Vicki May's recent editorial remarks. Lorene Crum is supremely qualified, responsive, caring, seasoned, and professional. If she is shown the door, a tremendous amount of institutional knowledge will go with her that can never be recovered. If you really want to carry out your preconceived political agenda to clean house, then why go about it in this manner? Why not just terminate these officials when you first took office without making a political spectacle of it? As with the former city manager and city attorney, you've never given Ms. Crum the courtesy of periodic employment evaluations as required by their contracts. If you really had a problem with Ms. Crum's performance, then at least have the guts to tell her in an open meeting and give her a chance to fix it. Set realistic goals and objectives for her to achieve, then follow up and hold her accountable. Instead, you seem determined to destroy her livelihood and career. That's petty politics at its ugliest. Lou Crum is among the finest employees our city has ever seen, and she deserves much better than that. In fact, every employee deserves much better. I urge you to reconsider the destructive path you're on and do an immediate about-face. No good will come if you plow forward. Former Mayor and concerned citizen, Rod Woodbury. Next public comment is regarding agenda item number 10 from Tanya Viche. I wish I could be there tonight with regards to the firing proposal of the city clerk, but I have a schedule conflict. I read the public depositions and read statements as to the other side of the coin. First, there is nothing I believe that is substantial to justify her firing, giving her tenure and praise by various people who have worked with her. This agenda item was on the mayor's personal agenda long before it was on tonight's meeting agenda, and I can swear to that as a witness. He openly discussed it at the Boulder City Library. There was no special election held when Tracy Fulda came to be appointed. This was sheltered by a ruse to supposedly save the city money, yet in one of the public depositions there was an admitting to discussing Fulda's appointment as a group effort and wagging the dog. Now, many lawsuits later, the mayor's addition of this agenda item is not only going to cost the city money and its reputation, but we are going to be left vulnerable given the loss of the city clerk's vast experience in this position. I had a great conversation with Judy Hoskins last night. We can disagree and agree on various items and walk away smiling. That's a big step in working across the board and how things should be. Using our differences to make us stronger as a city is not a bad thing. This action brought forward by the mayor is a vindictive power play that presents yet another liability for the city. Why is it so hard for Mr. Mayor for you to do the right thing? Reach across the board and work with others. I'm hoping voters take notice at the polls and elect you out because this is a shameful agenda item that you have proposed tonight. My opinion is you are ethically bankrupt and have no ability to consider the long-term repercussions of a stunt like this, not for the city or even to your own career. I'm so sorry to the city clerk that she has to be on the ugly side of this malicious and stressful endeavor, especially during a pandemic when work is scarce and times are hard. And I'm sorry our city is wasting time and tax dollars again on this power play. We're about to lose a great advocate for Boulder City because the little man has a big ego and can't seemingly get along with the majority of people in City Hall. Final public comment regarding agenda item number 10 from Christine Ward. Given the many challenges facing Boulder City at this time, there must be confidence, mutual respect, and an amicable working relationship existing between the city clerk and the mayor and council that is her job to serve and assist. This is not the case. Through her failure to follow through on her duties, the mayor and council have been placed in the position of violating the open meeting law. This is unacceptable. Through the years, I have watched an extremely capable and effective city clerk in action. These types of problems were unheard of. Therefore, I support the termination of the current city clerk. Boulder City needs a city clerk who will work with the mayor and the council, not against them. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Quite an effort there. I appreciate that. We are still in our initial public comment period. Anyone wishing to call for this, the phone number is 702-589-9629.
Comment. Public comment.
Hi, I'd like to make a public comment.
Go ahead, please.
Hello, my name is Martha Maria Mojdek-Boli, and I'm a world history teacher at Boulder City High School. I'm also a longtime resident of the community and a promoter of civic education and engagement in the community. And I'd like to speak to item 10 on the agenda tonight.
Go ahead, keep going.
One key standard, I would like to comment on what some of the key components of civic education is comprised of. One key standard that seems to be missing from politics in the current political climate is that opinions and facts are wholly different. In civic education, educators promote facts as being used in support of argument formulations. Arguments should be made with facts to support opinions, not opinions as claims that are just wholly unsupported by fact, but are instead still opinions reiterated more loudly. In the case of item 10, there are many opinions about Laureen Crum, but her work history and her reviews speak volumes, as does her professionalism in conducting years worth of city meetings flawlessly and professionally, oftentimes even educating members of the council or the community as to the complexities and legalities of their actions working on the city government. That is indeed her job, and she should not be punished for or retaliated against for doing her job duties. In civic education, I teach students to become informed and engaged participatory citizens. And as participatory citizens, I teach that their participation as constituents may be rewarded with politicians who agree with their opinions and ideas, or may be met with politicians who don't see eye to eye with them. Every election cycle, voters can work towards changing the balance of power by enlisting and encouraging other voters to participate in elections and to voice their opinions to elected officials in support or agreement of their own positions. Not seeing eye to eye in politics today somehow is often confused with an eye for an eye. And so often today, politics are personal and hostile, and people voice opinions despite having facts to back them up. Elected officials are beholden to their constituency. Hostility towards hired professionals who are simply performing their job duties professionally is a form of despotic leadership. This leadership style emboldens bullies, hostility, and entitlement amongst other leaders and citizens, rather than instilling what we all want from our leadership, which is the upstanding, can-do positivity and professionalism that our city government has often been known for. City government has both hired and elected servants. Laureen, Steve, Al, and many lifelong citizens and current and former members of the council have brought Boulder City into a positive light, both within and beyond the doors of our clean and green little town. Since this highly unusual, albeit legal determination of council members through appointed rather than election, the city council has gone about its business in highly unusual and strange manners. Civics education is about thoroughly knowing and teaching the community and the children, my students, about the ways in which the city council works and is expected to conduct themselves. These are exceptionally difficult times to teach civics through current events and examples. I can't really imagine what facts are being used to support item 10, but I encourage our council members to do the civic duties and conduct themselves as elected public servants, whether they actually were elected or appointed, and vote to retain some continuity in our community and indeed in our neck of the woods during this darkest hour of many of our lifetimes. Our city really needs competence and continuity in its hired officials to see us through these dark times and into surely brighter and hopefully less restrictive post-pandemic future. As a citizen and a resident, I call on you to hear your constituents in realizing that it's not too late to prevent delving the city deeper into these dark times in which experience and professionalism is neither acknowledged nor is it celebrated. This is the time to lead by example, to put down the pitchforks, to engender working together to pose solutions rather than more problems. I'm not sure what this council feels that its job is as public leaders and servants, but in my position as a teacher, we're often called upon ourselves to ask when dealing with our stakeholders, how can I help? How can I help?
Ma'am, there is a 5-minute limit.
Dark times.
Ma'am, there is a 5-minute limit.
This election run more smoothly. How can I prove to my constituency that I have
this is Mayor McManus. This is Mayor McManus, ma'am. There is a 5-minute limit. You've exceeded that limit. Please conclude your remarks.
Vote against item 10.
Thank you. The phone line is now available. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hi, this is Leslie Woodbury. 30-year resident of Boulder City, calling to comment on item number 10.
Go ahead, please.
First of all, Russell Nelson, the previous night, and he times in the past as prophet of the LDS Church and Clerk Law School in Provo. Neither of those could possibly be true. However, tonight he called in as a local business owner and resident of both Utah and Boulder City. Ironically, he sounds identical to Neil Hoskins, son of Councilwoman Judy Hoskins. If this is the case, then Judy is responsible to disclose this fact and let the council and the city know that what he has said in the past and tonight is not true. And if in case it is her son, then it was an ethics violation when she voted to dismiss our former city attorney. Second, Lou Crum is a professional and Boulder. I think everyone can agree on that in this entire town. We have the lakes, we have the dams, we have a national history that no small town can boast between Phoenix and LA, and we have Lou Crum. She will be grabbed up from another local city for her professional and manner and she works and for her education. I concur with all the previous accolades that have been bestowed upon her, and I think that the firing of her is not only retaliatory against her personally, but even worse, I think it's retaliatory against the former council, which I don't think is fair because no matter what grievances that this council has with the former council, Lou had nothing to do with their policies. She is just a city clerk. She hasn't done anything wrong. The current council is trying to cater to the BCCA, who has out the narrative of the Garcia report, the old hospital control, all of which theories, and most especially Lou had nothing to do with. Please reconsider your vote tonight on item number 10. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is our initial public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak, the phone line is available. The number is 702-589-9629.
Public comment. Public comment. Hello?
Hello, this is Joe Hardy.
Go ahead, please.
Hello, this is Joe Hardy, former city councilman of Boulder City. I have been very appreciative of Lou Crum and her professional demeanor and her abilities. And knowing some of the other city clerks, for instance, in state, I've been appreciative of her ability to talk to people in Nevada League of Cities and other places and be respected by others. So I am very much in favor of keeping her as a resource and his ability that she has in the city of Boulder City. I think we all love Boulder City. We may come from different directions, but the city clerk has a very pivotal role to play in making sure that we do things right. And we do them in such a way that our elections run well. And I think this is a critical time to make sure of that. I fully support Lou Crum. Do not have her terminated. I think that is a wrong move. That's Joe Hardy, current state senator. Appreciate your ability to let me comment. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Again, our initial public comment period for items on the agenda this evening. The phone number to call is 702-589-9629.
Public comment.
Hi, this is Laura Pizer. I sent in a letter, but it wasn't read tonight, so I'll go ahead and just read it right now. In my letter, I wrote, I am in support of the dismissal of Lorraine Crum. In watching her behavior during city council meetings, she does not behave professionally, and I do not believe she takes her responsibilities seriously. Per the information presented in the agenda packet, I feel her interests are not in the best interest of the city, and she does not have the best interests of all the city council members. We, the citizens of Boulder City, have voted for change, and if city council has to watch out for city staff not helping them do as the constituents ask, the whole community loses. Thank you.
Thank you. The phone line is available. The number is 702-589-9629.
Public comment.
Yes, I have public comment.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, good evening, Council. For the record, Fred Volz. In overseeing any enterprise, the competence and capability of any individual to do a job must be a primary consideration. No employee, from a clerk to CEO, should be gratuitously kept on because they smile on cue, already occupy a position, or to satisfy an unhealthy appetite of terminated, elected, and appointed officials, as well as friends, for retribution against the current city council by resorting to baseless intimidation, fear-mongering, and wild accusations. Reviewing the last years of the city clerk's job performance, one needs to recognize multiple failings indicating she should not remain in this position. At many city council meetings, she has illegally practiced law in offering legal interpretations of the state's open meeting law when she does not hold a Nevada license. This is the city attorney's job. At no point during her Boulder City employment has the incumbent city clerk initiated a comprehensive program to digitize the city's paper files, protecting these records from deterioration and premature death. Instead, during the ill-conceived and expensive Stantec facilities inventory, she requested more physical space to store more paper records. That type of backward 19th century mindset does not serve this city. Try looking for a public record on the city website. It is a convoluted process requiring Houdini-like skills to figure out where a record might be located. Off-point or zero results are regularly returned to the seeker because of poor filing protocols and lack of rudimentary cross-referencing. The city clerk is in charge of making this process seamless and accurate, but has done little to simplify access for residents and other interested parties. With the U.S. Post Office just one block away, the city clerk has chosen to continue duplicating passport application services in her office, wasting public time and money. The long lead times the city clerk insists upon for placing items on a meeting agenda when the actual agendas and packets are routinely posted close to the 3-day deadline indicates a striking lack of concern for delivering superior customer service. On repeated occasions, and most notably with the 2018 hiring process for the recently terminated city manager and city attorney, the city clerk stonewalled public requests for the release of applicants' resumes and did not include them as support materials for public meetings where candidates were to be considered. Given that Boulder City's city clerk receives over 75% more total compensation than Mesquite's city clerk and over 64% more than Fernley's city clerk, both comparably sized Nevada cities, we should be receiving stellar service even as she personally has to work nights, weekends, or holidays. Information concerning tonight's city clerk agenda items was leaked to the press. Doesn't the city clerk's office have a duty to maintain confidentiality? What other area of city government would have knowledge of these issues or the self-serving motivation to foment favorable public support long before the agenda would ordinarily be released to the public? It is never easy to terminate employees, but someone has to exercise judgment and leadership when retaining dysfunctional employees becomes untenable. The 3 months of proposed severance pay is generous under the circumstances. Our city is running exceedingly well with a competent acting city manager and a competent acting city attorney after disastrous performances by the previous inept city manager and city attorney. I trust this council to make a similarly wise choice in selecting an acting city clerk who will genuinely serve this community to a standard of care it needs and deserves. And I would ask that these comments be added to the record verbatim. Thank you.
Thank you. The phone line is available. Anyone wishing to speak in the initial public comment period, the number is 702-589-9629.
Public comment.
Yes, I'd like to comment on item 10.
Go ahead, please.
This is Brett Runyon. I grew up here in Boulder City, and I'm a longtime business owner. I've never seen anyone in our community receive as much community support as Lou Crum. She is obviously respected by many. I would like to encourage the mayor and city council to please consider doing the right thing by retaining Lou Crum, and don't let this valuable asset get away from our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment.
Yeah, it's Rich Human.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead, Rich.
Okay, thanks. Just know I had to mute my TV. In the office watching this meeting right now, can't believe, I did not have comments prepared to speak, but are you kidding me? I was on this council a couple of years ago and sat next to Mayor McManus. I would be absolutely embarrassed to have this agenda item in front of me right now on a city council meeting. How did Kieran McManus sit down and say, let's put this on the agenda tonight? That's unbelievable to me. You have heard from mayors, state senators, business owners, former council members. Combined, can you imagine the amount of years of people that have spoke out in favor of Lou Crum tonight? Personally, I've served on the planning commission and as a city council member there's no way I could have done that job without the guidance of Lou Crum. She was awesome. She has like a 99.5% approval rating with anyone who's ever worked with her, knows her on a professional level. What the heck is going on? In the middle of a pandemic, when businesses are struggling, this is what our city council is talking about tonight? I'm appalled. I'm in huge support of Lou Crum, against this crazy idea of firing her or firing anybody right now. Can you imagine the upheaval at City Hall that you're creating have already caused? How does that work? How does that function? I knew at some point inexperience and lack of experience would shine through on this council when you all got elected and appointed. And here it is. We're there. We're looking at it. With all the things you could be talking about, schools, kids, health, public health. This is where we're at on February 23rd, 2021. I can't wait to see how this vote goes. I hope that some of you will stand up to the mayor tonight. Really interested to see that happens, that somebody will show some backbone. Remember that there's middle ground between firing and not firing. There's ways to solve this. And how do you not have a public evaluation? When I was on council, we did that for everybody regularly. I haven't been following along, but sounds like there's never even been a public evaluation or a private evaluation of her work performance. I'm appalled that this agenda item's there, totally in support of obviously not firing Lou Crum. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. The phone line is available. Anyone wishing to speak in public comment, the number is 702-589-9629.
Comment, the number 70.
Hi, I'd like to make a comment on agenda item number 10.
Go ahead, please.
My name is Rebecca Ballester. I'm a 28-year resident of Boulder City. I don't have a whole lot of interaction with the city council, but as a high school counselor here for 13 plus years, I did work with Lou with the Summer Business Institute. When she became the city clerk, she reached out to us and wanted to make sure that our kids could be involved in a program that they were continuously excluded from in the Las Vegas area. What I will say, I can't really speak too much to all of her actions as a city clerk. I have never seen anything untoward, but what I can say is this is absolutely preposterous that two people who were appointed by this mayor, who clearly is filled with vitriol and anger, are going to have a right to vote on who is running our city and to cost our city money. That is absolutely ridiculous. If this truly is an issue, she should be held up for review. She should be given points to work on and then work on those things. If, as the previous caller said, items need to be moved to digital media, then okay, give that to her as a directive and give her an opportunity to correct it. But to just fire her like this is absolutely insane. I don't know who you think is going to come out to Boulder City and take this job with this current climate. And as far as getting paid more than people in Mesquite and other small areas, it costs a lot less to live in Mesquite. It's not a suburb of Las Vegas. I'm sure that she deals with a lot more information. So I'm in favor of retaining Lou Crum. If the council believes that this is a situation that needs to be reviewed and her performance needs to be reviewed, then it should be reviewed by elected city councils, not people who were just put in there who never even had the guts to put their hat in the ring. Thanks.
Thank you. Again, the number's available. The number to call is 702-589-9629.
Public comment.
Yes, Steve Morris.
Go ahead, Steve.
Good evening, members of council. This is Steve Morris, former city attorney. I am calling it with regard to item number 10. And unfortunately, this appears to be a deja vu moment for this council. The agenda item clearly doesn't provide Ms. Crum with the information that she would need in order to defend herself. It lacks specificity. It's, again, I believe a violation of the open meeting law and doesn't provide her with a fair opportunity to defend herself against the allegations that are being made. and upon which her job depends. Instead of being specific, over 400 pages were included in his backup material to this agenda item, which have really no relation to the agenda titles. Again, another violation. Within those backup materials is apparently a secret recording of a meeting that took place sometime in January of 2020. This apparently was provided by the mayor in an effort to justify the reasons for bringing this agenda title. If anything, it vindicates the individuals that were secretly recorded in that conversation and proves that they were only attempting to assist the mayor to be completely transparent and abide by the law. And so this agenda title tonight is every bit as a sham and a circus as the one that took place on October 13th. Another deja vu moment is another individual that called in at that time who represented himself as Russell Nelson. This individual has called in now 3 times representing himself as Russell Nelson, a professor at Brigham Young University, the privately owned school by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This individual obviously knows that Russell M. Nelson is the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This individual, who's now called in 3 times, sounds very similar to none other than Neil Hoskins, the son of Councilwoman Judy Hoskins. Mr. Hoskins' remarks have been bigoted, harassing, and discriminatory.
Mr. Morris, this is Mayor McManus. Please direct your remarks to the agenda item.
They are directed to the agenda item because he brought up this
Mr. Morris, commenting on the whatever you think about a former caller, that is not on the agenda item. Please direct your comments to the agenda item this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. The bigoted, harassing, and discriminatory acts have been adopted and endorsed and encouraged by this council. This letter that has been waived as a vindication of the harassment complaints that were filed is none other than a letter from an attorney from Poolpack trying her best to keep the city and the council from the ultimate liability of the discriminatory and harassing efforts of this city council. They are ongoing. They are on full display this evening with respect to agenda item number 10, and it is nothing more than an ongoing retaliatory effort against city employees, and it needs to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is our initial public comment period. The phone line is now available. The number is 702-589-9629. This is our initial public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on an item on the agenda, the phone number is 702-589-9629. All right, hearing no others for public comment, we will close the initial public comment period, and we will move to the approval of the regular agenda. Any changes, Madam City Clerk?
No changes, Mayor, but in an abundance of caution, I'd like to disclose that I have a pecuniary interest related to item number 10.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager?
No changes.
Thank you. And Madam City Attorney?
No changes.
Thank you. Bring it to council. Any changes regarding the regular agenda? Anyone wishing to make a motion then for approval?
Mayor, I move to approve the regular agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll move to the consent agenda. Again, Madam City Clerk, any changes?
Yes, please. Staff is recommending we remove item numbers 1, 2, and 4B, please.
Mr. City Manager?
No further changes.
Madam City Attorney?
No further changes.
Council, any changes for the consent agenda? Councilmember Folda?
Thank you, Mayor. I request to move number 3 to the regular agenda.
Any other changes? Would you like to make a motion then, Member Folda?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the consent agenda with changes.
I will second. Any, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that will bring us then to item number 3, matters pertaining to the Hemingway Watershed projects. Mr. Littoral.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Keegan Littoral, your Public Works Director. Item number 3 is actually a 3-part item that we're bringing forward. It's for the Hemingway Watershed Phase 2B project funded by the Regional Flood Control District. The first part is to receive additional funding from the Flood Control District. I think it was in January, we had asked for more money from flood control. During the design, we were working closely with the Flood Control District, and they had asked for a number of changes throughout the design process. And in turn, it increased the price of the project. So that's for accepting the additional funds. Part B is awarding the project. We had 5 bids for this project. And then Part C is awarding CM Works for the construction management service. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Councilmember Folda.
Thank you, Mayor. I brought this forward to discuss item number C on your dais. You'll see that there's been slight changes to the resolution agreement 7233. There's nothing substantiated changing the agreement with CM Works. However, for the public, I wanted to clarify what kind of construction management services were being provided. In NRS, there's a distinction between construction management at risk and as an agent. This is an agent contract, and so I wanted to be reflected in the record. It's important because in NRS, agent contracts are not required to be received by bid, but at risks are. And so I wanted to make sure for the record that those distinctions were made. But as far as the work, public work itself, there was no issue or a problem. And I think in discussion with the city attorney that this would be used going forward for any of these type of works. And then just one thing, if you could add for that we're working on a list for this type of work. Could you address that?
Yes, the reason that CM Works was selected for at this time is we're using an old RFQ list that the city had done a number of years ago. CM Works and Horrocks Engineers were the ones shortlisted on that. In the past month or two, we've been working towards another RFQ for design services, surveying, construction management. Those bids are due to be opened on the 25th, so this Thursday. And so that'll give us a new list, an updated list of new consultants for the city to work with. So we won't be using the old outdated one.
Thank you. I know from the public we had received comment about transparency and how bids are received and how things are awarded. And so I think this will just help clarify how things are headed out. We have a list that can show, that we're rotating through different construction management or other types of services. So I appreciate all the work staff has done. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? You wish to make a motion on item number 3 on the, we'll take the resolutions one at a time then?
Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 7231.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 7232.
Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 7232.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And Resolution 7233.
Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 7233 with changes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Luttrell.
You're welcome.
All right, item number 7, presentation. I will welcome Mr. Mays to the podium so he can pronounce the name of the proposed national monument.
I will do my best, Mayor. There are several groups that are petitioning the federal government to designate approximately 383,000 acres in southern Clark County, directly adjacent to our southern border, to create a new national monument called the Avika National Monument. Mr. O'Neill is requested to be able to present to the council a presentation this evening. We will be calling him, and there will be a PowerPoint, and you can ask him any questions about the proposed national monument.
Thank you. Can we place the call now?
Hello?
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
it's time for your item.
Oh, okay. Oh, then let me plug in here. Hold on. Yeah, I thought maybe I was mixed up or something because it was getting late. We still have time to go through this, or?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
Can folks hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. Well, I appreciate the invite. For those who don't know me, I worked for the National Park Service for 34 years, and the last 13 was superintendent at Lake Mead National Recreation Area. And when I retired there, I started the Outside Las Vegas Foundation, which has been rebranded Get Outdoors Nevada, and served as executive director for 10 years. And presently, I'm mostly doing volunteer work, and I'm advisor to the National Parks Conservation Association. And part of a coalition of tribes and conservation groups and recreation interest and outdoor business owners and local residents working to try and get a new national monument established in the southern part of Clark County, south of Boulder City, called Avika. And that area, what created the concern was that we've been fighting for about 8 years on 2 really bad wind projects down there. And I'm a strong supporter of renewable energy, but these projects were just not suitable for that particular location. And when the Crescent Peak Wind Project was canceled by BLM at the Washington level in December of 2019, we thought, we got to do something to provide a higher level of protection down there. Although a lot of that was overlaid with Paiute El Dorado Valley HDEC, there are a lot of holes in that, and that's our concern, where we'd have industrial level projects surrounded by areas that we really have worked several decades to try and get protected. So the Avika National Monument, Avika means Spirit Mountain. That's the Mojave name for Spirit Mountain. So the monument's roughly 383,000 acres, but that includes several already designated wilderness areas for continuity and management. So the area is really closer to about 350,000 acres. You may know, next slide, a national monument's a permanent designation for public lands and established by Congress, and usually to protect important values such as recreation, natural and cultural resources, the visual resources, as well as the dark night sky and natural quiet, while preventing the types of large-scale industrial development on those lands that we didn't feel appropriate for that part of Clark County. Monuments can also be established through presidential executive order under the Antiquities Act. Now, we have 3 existing national monuments in Nevada. Gold Butte and Basin and Range were established under the Antiquities Act, while Tule Springs Fossil Beds National Monument in the northern part of the valley there was established by legislation. So if you look at what a national monument is in terms of how it's managed, it's very similar to most units of the National Park System, or in the BLM National Conservation Land System, more similar to a national conservation area. But in this case, we thought the national monument designation was the most appropriate because it offered some additional flexibility. Next slide is the map of the proposed boundary. I might say the boundary was developing using several processes. One was using the Nature Conservancy's Mojave Desert ecological assessment to look at what were the areas that were most important to protect, that had the highest overall ecological values and where they intersected. And then we overlaid the ecological layer with the cultural layer. And that was developed working with the Mojave tribe, who in turn was working with the other affiliated tribes. So based on those two overlays, we developed a boundary. And we've made several changes to that boundary, one working with some changes in the Laughlin area based on some concerns expressed down there. So we took some of the area out of the monument. So, you know, if you look at the map, on the California side, that entire part of the East Mojave Desert is protected through the Mojave National Preserve, the Castle Mountains National Monument, and the Mojave Trails National Monument. On the Nevada side, we really haven't done much except the designation of the South McCullough Wilderness and the Weethump Wilderness, and then the Paiute El Dorado Valley, ACEC. But that was established primarily for the desert tortoise and protection of species. It didn't really deal with the importance of the cultural resource here, things like the visual resource, the recreational resource, and such. And you'll see in the blue there where the monument is in blue, there's some non-hatched areas or cross-hatched areas. Those areas that are presently do not have any management prescriptions. So they're the areas that we're most concerned about. And they're the ones, if you have the appropriate development, you're going to create a industrial island surrounded by lands that have some level of protection. So the idea was to connect what's been done on the California side all the way over to Lake Mead National Recreation Area, and that gives you sufficient land that takes into elevation, the migration routes, transition zones, little niches and such that as we experience climate change, we have a better chance of managing that part of the East Mojave ecosystem if those areas are connected. Now, in the northern part of that map, it borders the Boulder City Conservation Easement, and that's why the boundary was there, so that we would connect directly to Boulder City's Conservation Easement area, which adds, you know, another connected area, which we thought was beneficial. Let's talk briefly about some of the features of the monument for those who have not spent much time down there. First, the Joshua trees. This is the eastern terminus of the world's largest Joshua tree forest. It's actually home to some of the oldest and largest Joshua trees on the planet. The one on the left side there, we had that measured several months back, and it turned out to be the largest Joshua tree in the state of Nevada. And we think there's only two larger, and they were in the Mojave National Preserve, and we're concerned that they may have been impacted by the dome fire that took place last summer. Let me go back. In terms of, this is obviously a hot spot for botanical diversity, but one of the unusual things here is a number of species of native grasses. There's like 28 species, and half of those are considered to be rare. And there's also one large subtropical grasslands that you usually find in the Sonoran Desert uplands in southern Arizona and northern New Mexico. So if you look at the picture on both the bottom left and bottom right, they show pictures of that grassland, which is very, very unusual in the Mojave Desert. Next slide. Of course, I think you all are familiar with the tortoise. This area contains the largest area of high-quality tortoise habitat in Nevada, and we've been told possesses the highest desert tortoise densities in terms of population, but it also is contiguous with a large high-density area in California. So the desert bighorn sheep, this area serves as an important migratory corridor for the sheep. Both the sheep and other wildlife species traverse the area between the Paiute and the New York Mountains, and then east to the Newberry and the El Dorados. In terms of the birding in this area, there's a very important birding area. It's designated by Audubon as an important birding area. Not only because of the number of species, but you also have a number of migratory birds which use this area for foraging and nesting because of its proximity to Colorado River, which is an important feature of the Pacific Flyway. But there are a number of unusual bird species here which are more associated with the Sonoran Desert than the Mojave Desert. These are species like the golden flicker, the Harris hawk, and it looks like a resident population of curve-billed thrashers. Next slide. Here are some photos of those particular species. But in terms of golden eagles and raptors, this is area contains one of the highest density of golden eagles in Nevada. In addition, there's 18 species of raptors. The concern here is that 10 of those raptor species that are found here are species of special concern by the Nevada Department of Wildlife, and they are target species for conservation in the Nevada Wildlife Action Plan. Species like Gila monsters you find here, as well as several dozen other special status species. Next slide. Also, there's some really important water sources within the proposed monument. There are a number of natural springs and guzzler developments. Of course, these provide precious water for wildlife. The most prominent of these are Pine Spring and Hyco Springs and Granite Springs, which is south of the Laughlin area there. In terms of geologic resources, we have a number of very interesting mountain ranges. The Highland Range, which is just south of Boulder City there, is really a rugged volcanic landscape with a number of roads that access the core of that area off the transmission line there that you take just at the boundary of Boulder City. You have the Newberry Mountains, which are mostly granitic. Paiute Range, South McCullough, the Dead Mountains, so there are a number of geologic features of interest. Next slide. Also scenic canyons. Of course, Hyco Springs Canyon is quite spectacular, but the Highland Range, particularly on the east side, has a number of very interesting canyons to explore. And very south end, where you have some unusual sandstone formations, are also small slot-like canyons in that area. But as important as the ecological resources are, the cultural resources are equally significant, and in some cases even more significant. This is what we call a living laboratory, which showcases that progression of human history in the East Mojave Desert. We kind of nicknamed it the crossroads of the American West. Next slide. The Native American Association is very, very important here. For the human-speaking tribes, Spirit Mountain, Avika is their place of creation. In their mythology, that's where they emerge from one dimension into the earth dimension, and so that has special significance for them. There's 10 associated human tribes, Mojave being one. They're kind of the day-to-day caretakers of Spirit Mountain on behalf of the other tribes, but there's a Wallapai, the Yavapai, Havasupai, the Pai, the Shan, other tribes. So this area was designated. Spirit Mountain is a traditional cultural property. When I was superintendent at Lake Mead, we worked 3 years and working with the tribes and getting that designation. That was a new designation in the Historic Preservation Act to recognize a place's religious and spiritual significance. What we didn't get done at that time, because we had to get a boundary established in order to get it on the National Register, is that we weren't able to include the larger landscape at that time, and we had a commitment to the tribes when the time was right to address that issue of their traditional lands and such that are part of Spirit Mountain. They're related to Spirit Mountain, and that's where the cultural overlay, almost the entire monument area, is lands associated with their ancestral lands. So very, very important to the tribes. It's not only the human-speaking tribes, but also important to the Chimbawewe, Paiute, and the Hopi. Not as much as the human, but still important. Now, the Dead Mountains, which are not as well known, but most people lie south of Laughlin, and there's a connection between Spirit Mountain and Dead Mountains. And the tribes also consider this very sacred and of ritual importance. It is associated with their religious events and religious figures and burial places. And there's a lot of cultural sites spread throughout the proposed monument lands, which obviously are not advertised, and the concern about the impact that might have on those sites. So, the next slide. So there is, the Walking Box Ranch, which some of you may have visited. It has a long history with cattle ranching, starting in about 1910, and very important cattle grazing in the early part of the 20th century. And the ranch was then bought in 1931 by Rex Bell and Claire Bow, and they were like the top of the Hollywood elite at the time. I'm not sure we have any stars in today's movie industry that had quite the fame that they did. Claire Bow was, of course, the it girl in the silent movies, and then that transitioned to speaking movies. But that has a really colorful history. This was the hangout for years for the Hollywood elite. Would come there. It was important in the history of movie making, particularly as it related to the Westerns. And then we have the historic Mojave Trail, which is in the southern part of the monument. It's also now part of the Mojave Road. This was originally used by tribes like the Mojave to transport goods from the southwest all the way over to the California coast to trade with the Chumash and other tribes. But the route was later served an important role in the Western expansion. For example, in the 1960s, the road served both civilian and military mail carriers and supply wagons between the Arizona Territory and California. And of course, the Mojave Road is popular today for backcountry users. Paiute Springs and Fort Paiute, the access to those sites, they're actually in the Mojave National Preserve, but the access is to the proposed monument lands. And then the Garces expedition, which is the first non-native people to enter Nevada, was an important part of history. They were looking for a land route between their missions in Arizona to California, and of course the Mojave Indians guided them through the Mojave Road and out to California. And then you had the Camel Corps, which was in 1855 to 66, which was really an interesting piece of history. They were used for transportation, military supplies, and heavy weapons. It didn't last too long because the Secretary of War at the time, became head of the Confederate Army, and so the Camel Corps stopped. They were based in Texas, and those camels came all the way over. There were 70 of them, 75, I believe, that came over from Egypt, and they actually proved to be more efficient, I guess, overall than horses. But because of the railroad and steamships and others, they didn't. That didn't materialize as a big effort. For the recreation and visual resource, backcountry driving here and hiking are very popular, and I know the local people are concerned about, does a monument mean cutting off access? No, it doesn't. That's one of the reasons why we wanted a monument, to keep the designated road system open. Of course, as we know, in the conservation area, there's a tendency for the development of more social roads since then. So we like to see some of those closed, but actually the designated routes to stay open. The area is open to hunting and propose it continue to be. It provides hunting opportunities for desert bighorn sheep, deer, and smaller game animals. The viewscapes, though, many people think are one of the most valuable resources in that area because how far you can see across the horizon. Almost everywhere you're in a monument, you can see Spirit Mountain, except the very northern part, as well as the Castle Mountains and Castle Peaks, and the southern and the South McCullough Range as well. I mean, the southern part of the monument, you see the Dead Mountains. Now, dark night sky is becoming a very important issue, and whether you followed the state legislature, but the Senate just passed a dark night sky bill, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, about the importance of protecting dark night sky and a system for certification in these areas that meet the dark night sky criteria. We do have a number of areas within the monument that do have dark night sky, and this across the globe, the National Geographic came out with an atlas of dark night skies, and 80% of the skies globally have a level of light pollution that's almost impossible to see the Milky Way. So we think that's important in our community because, Las Vegas has probably the highest light pollution of any place on the planet. But being able to access without driving too long, actually dark night sky can be a really important asset to our community, and have kids and adults who've never seen the Milky Way come out and actually view the dark night skies. It's pretty spectacular. The photo on the left was one we took just a month or so ago. The next slide. The goals that we want to like to achieve with the National Monument, obviously, is protecting, like I've said, all the existing recreational uses, including hunting, camping, hiking, OHV use, and backcountry driving on existing designated roads and trails. And of course, to protect the native plants and animals, including what I mentioned, there's critical migratory corridors for bighorn sheep. Very important to protect the sacred Native American cultural sites and the values the native tribes would have a much larger role in both the planning and management of this particular monument area because of the importance of those cultural values. And also the monument would protect those spectacular views from things like large-scale wind development in the area. And there's some issue there with protecting the health of residents by stopping major disturbance of soils. Some of these soils have naturally occurring asbestos, and that was one of our concerns. And also the fungi that's a source of valley fever, if they were developed for a wind farm or similar type of industrial development, exposing those soils and the potential risk there. The monument would honor existing mining claims and private property rights, of course. There's very little private property. 95% of this is federal land. But we also want to honor existing utility rights of way and such, and the need for, some improvement and expansion of those within those rights of way. The benefits to Boulder City, as I said, the northern boundary borders the Boulder City Conservation Easement area, which we feel extends the benefits of the conservation easement's objectives. And you know well that the management goals prescribed for the conservation easement is to ensure that the property is retained in a natural condition and to prevent any uses that would impair the conservation, protection, restoration, and enhancement of the natural resource values. It's almost identical, similar to what the management goals are. So linking conservation areas is aligned with addressing the impacts of climate change, and these are championed by the global initiative, which is called 30 by 30, which is the effort to preserve 30% of the planet's lands and oceans by 2030. Now, the United States is now signatory to that initiative. There's over 52 countries, and there's legislation, a resolution introduced in the state legislature by Assemblywoman Cecilia Gonzalez that would have the state support the 30 by 30 initiative. And within that, Avika and the Desert National Wildlife Refuge are listed as areas that could be included as part of Nevada's response to the 3030 initiative. So Boulder City is, would kind of be sandwiched between these two nationally designated assets, the Lake Mead National Recreation Area and the Avika National Area Monument. And in my mind, this creates some economic benefit. There's been several recent economic studies on national monuments as to what impact they have on the local economy, and without going in details, they were positive in terms of economic impacts. In today's, the economy, since the greatest value of natural amenities and recreational opportunities often lie in the ability of protected lands to attract and retain people, entrepreneurship businesses, and a growing number of retirees who locate for quality of life reasons. And of course, we know that's true in the valley, and we have the great benefit of having these outdoor areas close into our urban areas, and we think this just adds to it. People, when they plan vacations, look at that. Well, what's near there? Are there any national parks, national monuments, et cetera? And as you get more of these, people tend to plan partially their vacation around not only visiting, Las Vegas, Boulder City, but using those as a base to visit those areas outside. People, I don't think, understand the importance sometimes of the outdoor recreation or the outdoor industry. It's very important in Nevada. I think people would be surprised to find that there's $12.6 billion in consumer spending annually on the outdoor industry, and it equates to some 87,000 jobs. So it's third behind gaming and tourism. Gaming and tourism, of course, are number one. Healthcare is number two, and outdoor recreation is number three. And so with that, I know we're short on time here, and I want to finish up here. But, I think the business aspect and the having that monument close by and encouraging outdoor businesses to set up shop in this area or to expand their businesses in this area could be an important economic stimulus to Boulder City. We do have a website and media site set up. You can go and get some additional information. honoravikame.org or honorspiritmountain.org. You can reach it both of those, and then a Facebook and an Instagram site. So that's kind of a quick summary, and open to any questions that people might have.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Adams?
What's that?
Thank you very much, Mr. O'Neill, for the presentation. I was curious, when we're talking about, establishment of a national monument, and I'm looking at the map, I see, also national preservation, national preserves, national recreation area. What is the importance of national monument? Why that designation over others? What is it that provides the benefit for this area?
Well, as I said, it's close. And the BLM system, these are part of the National Conservation Lands, because we didn't want to change management from BLM to Park Service here. We thought it was important that since BLM is managing that landscape now, that they would be an appropriate agency for managing the national monument. It just provides an additional layer of protection. The ACEC is an important first layer of protection, but again, that is an administrative determination. It could be changed and adjusted over time, and it really only deals with protection of species, particularly a desert tortoise. It does not deal with the need to protect cultural resources and the visual and the other resources that we talked about. So adding additional layer of protection we thought was the appropriate way of looking at all the resources that needed attention here, just not the species.
Certainly. I was not even aware of just how close this was to us, all the ecological importance and diversity in the area, the cultural importance to the area. You did mention also, maintaining existing utility right-of-ways, public property, and I think you had also mentioned something about, should these utilities need expansion or need to be, repaired and maintained, that those things do still exist, correct?
Yeah, I'm really having a hard time hearing you, but were you talking about the role of the tribes in the management or the planning for this?
I was more speaking to the fact of that there are currently existing utility right-of-ways in the area.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned that
we'd honor those existing rights-of-way and understand over time those utility rights-of-way need to be improved and such. And so that's a flexibility given in a national monument designation that you wouldn't say in a National Park Service area or even with a National Conservation Area. That's why we use a monument designation, because we had a little bit more flexibility to honor those existing uses.
Thank you very much. Again, I really appreciate the presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Bridges?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to thank you for your presentation. It's pretty exciting to be part of a community sandwiched between two designated assets like this. I guess what worries me about these monuments is them becoming political hot potatoes as they were in the last presidential period. Do we need to worry about them shrinking, having their footprint shrunk, such as Bears Ears or Gold Butte? You know, such a time comes where it's decided to break them up into smaller pieces again? Or are these pretty well protected in their location from those kinds of effects?
I am so sorry. I have a really hard time hearing that. So over the phone, I don't. Maybe the connection I have or whatever. But I didn't get the essence of the question. I really apologize for that.
The essence is there any need to worry that at some point these could be reduced in size as what happened to Bears Ears or Gold Butte?
Oh boy.
Can you hear the question?
I didn't hear that. I really apologize. I would be glad if questions if you can give someone those questions, I'll be glad to answer them or call to answer them. Yeah.
I will do that.
Having a very hard time hearing the questions.
Madam City Clerk, did you want to try and ask him that question?
Mr. O'Neill, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, that's a lot better.
Okay, Councilmember Bridges asked if you had any concern about shrinking of the area like Bears Ears or Gold Butte.
No, we don't. That was kind of an exception. In my understanding, that was the first time that I'm aware that monuments were proposed for shrinking. And my understanding is that efforts underway now to reestablish the boundaries that were established in the executive order that set them up. Our hope was that a monument designation, if it's by legislation, they are. If it's by executive order, and those Bears Ear and was established in Staircase Escalante under the Antiquities Act, and I think that's where they were subject to downsizing. But if it's legislatively established, it would be very, very difficult, almost impossible, to have those boundaries adjusted downward. And we think even under executive order that they're protected.
Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Hoskins?
Yes, I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you partially. Go ahead and try. Let me see if I can pick it up.
All right, I just have a comment to make. My husband used to walk in that area, and he would talk about, he had 2 back-to-back days where he witnessed a huge bright light in the form of a perfect cross. and it was pulsating, and he could feel the energy throughout his body as it pulsated. So this area is truly special, and I thank you for the beautiful pictures and the presentation.
Oh, okay. I didn't pick that up. I am so sorry.
That may be a little bit much to repeat, but I think Councilmember Hoskins made it clear to the audience anyway. Are you able to hear me all right, Mr. O'Neill?
What's that?
Are you able to hear me all right?
I'm hearing pretty well, yes.
All right. Again, I appreciate very much this presentation. You have included the information in the packet where people can look at this and also submit questions. So I would certainly encourage the public to do that if they have any questions about this monument.
Absolutely, yes. We'll answer any questions that anybody raises in the community there.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much for the presentation, sir. It's certainly a beautiful area and certainly one with a lot of significance to it.
Thank you so much for allowing me the time.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. We will move then to item number 8, a presentation of the Bill Andrews Award. Again, this is an award that is done annually for a member of the community who has done outstanding service. I think that during this year of the pandemic, the nomination that was made was certainly very appropriate. Councilmember Hoskins, this was your nomination. Would you like to make any comments?
Yes, I would just like to say that I'm happy that Deb got it, and she certainly deserves it, and especially during this pandemic, as you said, Mayor, it's very important, the services that the emergency aid has been providing to everyone, and we certainly are happy that she is going to be awarded this wonderful award.
Thank you. And again, Ms. Finnegan, if you would like to come to the podium, I will maintain proper social distancing while I present this to you.
I just want to thank oh boy, do I have a loud mouse. I just want to thank everybody. I'm really honored. I knew Bill, Mr. Andrews. As a matter of fact, the last time I saw him a few weeks before he was killed, it was in this building here, right? This room. This used to be the courthouse. I was trying to talk my way out of a ticket. Can't really remember if I talked my way out of it or not. I did. Just during this pandemic, I can name 5 people off the top of my head that I feel deserve this more than me. There's so many people in this town that have, the fire department, the police department, the mayor, the council, staff. You guys have been wonderful during this pandemic, helping us with the money so I can sleep better at night, to pay rents and utilities and all sorts of things. I'm just really humbled, and thank you.
Well, again, I would just like to add, Ms. Finnegan, that, you know, I've known you for a number of years. The work that you've done, not just at Emergency Aid, but elsewhere in the community. Certainly there are many people who have done a great deal this year, but you definitely deserve that award. So thank you again.
Thank you all.
All right. Before moving on to item number 9, we'll go ahead and take a short recess and reconvene at 10:20.